Avowed. Xbox. Xbox tax. The biggest thing I'm seeing on Twitter right now is people are like, Addict. Avowed is a victim of the Xbox tax. And I wasn't going to make this video, but I keep seeing it. I keep seeing more and more people attacking content creators that didn't like the game. I reviewed Avowed, and I thought it was a solid experience. So I feel like from someone that's spoken very publicly about Xbox tax, multiple in the past, I can actually make this type of video. I can give my perspective on it. What's going on, you guys? Gaming Addict here, coming at you with another video. Today we're going to be talking about Xbox tax and Avowed. You know, a lot of people feel that Avowed was hit with that old-fashioned Xbox tax because, you know, right now it's sitting on an 8 on Metacritic. And people feel like that's too low. The people feel like that is too low of a game for the kind of quality that Avowed is right now. Now, let's talk about what I believe an Xbox tax is before we get into whether or not this game got hit with the Xbox tax. In my opinion, there is an Xbox tax. But a lot of these content creators want you to think it's like this giant scheme. Like we got an Illuminati. Like I don't know if you guys have watched the Death Note, but when the executives, one of them had the Death Note, and they was having those like weekly meetings where they decide how they're going to use it the next week. They want you to think it's something like that. Like there's this giant scheme and everyone from every outlet, all the biggest content creators are all coming together to talk about whether or not Xbox tax is going to hit this game or not. Do I think sometimes it happens? Yes, but it's not all that Illuminati stuff. Just certain people don't like Xbox in the industry. And some of these people have influence, and a lot of influence. I mean, you could just look at the perspective of other things that's happened in the industry. Look at Greg Miller and how publicly, multiple times, he has spoken very negatively about PC. So clearly, that is an individual, and you know, he's not the biggest fan of Xbox either, but that is an individual that is in a position of power, heavy influence, that is able to affect the way certain things go with Xbox or PC or whatever. Look, I believe when it comes to Avowed, because let's pop over here to you know, the Metacritic here in a second. I personally believe that when it comes to Avowed, that there are people that probably reviewed this game as a perspective of, you know, oh, this is an Xbox thing. And then there's a lot of people that reviewed this as like, look, I'm judging this because it's Obsidian. That's what I'm judging this on. And I think there's a lot more of those people than people think. Obsidian isn't one of those games that has like this giant set of haters. There's a lot of people that love Obsidian games. They absolutely adore Obsidian games. And we got to understand that when these people play stuff like South Park, Stick of Truth, they've played stuff like the Pillars of Eternity games. They've played Fallout New Vegas, The Outer Worlds. There are certain aspects of these games that people have very, very high expectations for. But let's pop in here and look at some of these critic reviews. The first thing I want to bring up actually is that let's look at the Metacritic score and the user score. As you can see, the Metacritic score is an 8. The user score is a 6.7. Now, if you see this giant red bar, this is probably people that hated what that art director said. This is probably a bunch of PlayStation fanboys that came in here and just, you know, review bombed it. Because that is an absurd amount of red considering how much yellow and green is there. So that's the first thing I want to bring out. You got 634 reviews, and look how much is green. And then, you know, you go over here and you look at the critic reviews, not one negative review. There is not one person in this industry that said this game is horrible. I do think we have this skewed thing going on what's a good game, what's a bad game because of the way things have went the past few years. I do believe that. You know, and I hold it upon myself too. Sometimes I will look at like an 8 game and, you know, feel a certain way about that when 8 shouldn't be a bad thing, but the industry has kind of pushed us towards feeling that 8 is a little lukewarm, like underwhelming. And that's not fair to most degrees. An 8 should be a solid experience for you to play. And I feel like for the most part, that is what people are saying. But let's look at some of these critics. I want to go to some of the mixed reviews, because keep in mind that is all that has been reported. Is we have the positive reviews and then mixed reviews. There's no negative reviews on this, so that's one thing that kind of makes it look a little ridiculous when it comes to like Avowed particularly. Now that's not everything. I think Starfield definitely got hit with an Xbox tax. There were people that was very public that they didn't get a review code for Starfield, and they were very annoyed, and all of them so happen to give the game a 6 out of 10. I'm not saying that they took out their frustrations on the game. I'm just saying it's a little convenient. That's just me on that part. So Game Pro Germany gave this a 7.3. An RPG with good writing and memorable companions that lack the turns of presentation and gameplay mechanics. I agree with some of this and disagree with some of this. I actually think the writing in this game, comparing it to other Obsidian games, is a little bit lukewarm in that end. And that's not necessarily saying that the writing is horrible. That's just saying that they could have drastically improved the writing, in my personal opinion, when it comes to something like this. I can understand this. In myself, I would actually say that Avowed, if I were to say where it stands on the Metacritic score wise, I feel like an 83, 84. I think 8 is a little too low, but I don't feel like people reviewed this game badly just because it's an Xbox title, this particular title. Then we got Xbox Tavern. Avowed gets better the more you commit to it, but when there are many RPGs that fly out the gate with memorable opening gambits, it's compatibly a bad indictment for Avowed to drone on in the interesting way until you apply it through a handful of hours into it. Don't allow these negatives to diminish the positives, though. Avowed is a strong. So it looks like, he's being somewhat fair. What he said there at the end, kind of like a little bit interesting that he gave it that. Avowed is a strong RPG that will please everybody looking for a good and tasty role-playing steak to tug into. It just deserves a shine as it's a beautiful setting instead of a shallow middle tier. I feel like that's like an 8 something out of 10. I feel like maybe, I don't like when you see the actual wording and it doesn't make sense what they're actually saying. Gamer NO gave it a 7 out of 10. Avowed offers a strong atmosphere, colorful personalities, and a gameplay loop that is extremely serviceable. However, it fails to excel in particular areas, including the character narrative that Obsidian is known for. Once again, like I said, people are comparing this to previous Obsidian games. That is where it's falling flat. There's multiple scenarios in the industry where I would say, okay, maybe a little bit of Xbox tax hit this a little. Maybe just a little. But this is one of those particular things. This game being made by Obsidian hit it more than anything else, in my opinion, on that matter. Because Obsidian is a lot of people's favorite game. And I would say that in terms of who reviewed this game, there was a lot of Obsidian reviewers. It is not a coincidence that a lot of the people that don't play hardcore RPGs all the time, some of the biggest streamers in the industry, are loving Avowed because they don't normally play games like this consistently. So you're seeing, when you appeal to a casual audience, I always say, in my personal opinion, when you appeal to a casual audience, you have the chance to upset all the original fans of that franchise because you're trying to take a bigger pie of the middle ground with the casuals. But then you have the chance that none of the casuals is going to really vibe on it, and you've lost both. This is a situation that worked well for the casualization of the game. If I want an Avowed too, because what I see here is a fantastic foundation. I see here is Avowed 2 can be one of the funnest, greatest RPGs ever out. I even said in my review that Avowed is a good game. It's just I know Obsidian can do better, and that's where I'm coming from. And I think people are getting that mixed up, where people feel like because people are attacking Obsidian, that they're attacking Xbox. No, I feel Are there people in this list that will probably attack it because it's an Xbox game? Yes. But this is one of those key factors where I feel like Obsidian heads, people that love Obsidian games, they're the ones that are upset because they're the ones that requested to review this game. So let's keep going. IGN, I'm pretty sure Travis did this. With awesome world building and stellar character writing, Avowed reminds me why I fell in love with Obsidian RPGs in the first place. However, the bigger picture is oh my god. The bigger picture is that it plays it quite safe, with a by the numbers fantasy adventure that's more familiar than evolutionary, and that's their bare any enemy variety to keep the swords and sorcery battles interesting for long, even if it doesn't swing for the fences or leave a memorable mark on the game, though it's still perfectly competitive with all the tried and true stuff I expert, including chaotic combat, leveling systems, and a loot progression that lets you build the character you want to play, and meaningful decisions that have a massive impact on the world, plus the whole thing surprisingly technically stable compared to the reliability unreliable peers. I don't like that sentence. Whoever wrote that, I don't like that sentence. I enjoyed my time parkouring my way through Aura, and think you will too. Just don't expect Avowed to show you anything you haven't seen before. One thing I will admit to this is I don't like this concept that like every game has to push the borders. Sometimes you can make good games just good games. You don't got to push borders. I do feel like we need to stop that. That's where you get like the 9s and I guess the 10s. I don't particularly think any game's a 10, but I can understand, when someone pushes boundaries to the point where you're seeing newer stuff. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, in my opinion, is a great game, but you've seen all of it before. Like, we need to do better on rewarding games that just make good experiences and don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't feel like you should have to reinvent the wheel every game you make. But that's just me. Put it in the comment section what you guys be feeling. Gamers RD. If we manage our expectations, Avowed proves to be an enjoyable game that fulfills its goal of entertaining. However, its gameplay leans more towards RPG mechanics, action than RPG mechanics. With notable simplifications, many of the tasks feel repetitive, and they've been seen countless times before. On top of that, narratively, it's far from Obsidian's magnus opus. 100% feel that's fair. Look, I wouldn't give it a 7 out of 10. I think Avowed's more like an 8 out of 10. But I ain't gonna argue with someone that gets it a 7 out of 10, especially when I read the cliff notes essentially, and it's a fair analysis. Now, obviously, I have to go read the full review, and I'm not gonna go do that. You guys can go to Metacritic here and look at yourself. Look. First, I want to apologize for the crazy reading job I'm doing. I don't know, when I read stuff out loud, I always be messing up. But look, Avowed's a great game. It's an amazing game. I recommended people play it. Hell, I even said you should buy it because it's a fantastic experience. Are they people in this industry that shit on this game because it's Xbox? Most likely. Absolutely. They're definitely out there. Some of them disguise themselves very well. But I do think that's one of the reasons Microsoft and Xbox is a bonus when it comes to this multi-platform approach, because they're going to be able to do that less and less because they know the PlayStation version is going to come out in 6 months to a year. And they don't want to have a situation where now they have to gloat a game when they shit on it 6 months ago because now it's on PlayStation. So you're going to see a lot more of these people being like genuine, because we saw that with Sea of Thieves. There were people that reviewed Sea of Thieves on the Xbox, said it was horrible, which I get it. The PlayStation version and the Xbox version were night and day in comparison to what the activities, how the game functioned, but they were making fun of some of the mechanics in the game that were still there at the launch of the Xbox. So we see that there is some form of Xbox tax when it comes to certain outlets, certain people in certain outlets, people in high positions. But in this particular point, Avowed, in my personal opinion, there is no Xbox tax. There is just Obsidian heads like such as myself that just some disappointment, man. You know, we were looking forward to this game because we love Obsidian for certain aspects that they do. And I, for one, was disappointed with the fact that, you know, there were certain things that I felt didn't matter in a conversation, or some of the choices I felt didn't have a real impact in the story. To people that follow these type of games, especially Obsidian, that is going to hit us more. And I do think that it's working way better for Avowed than it even did Starfield. Because look, Starfield, it was a mixed bag, but I felt like there was a lot more people in the middle. I ain't gonna lie. I get on Twitter daily, and there's people really hyping out this, and there's people that don't even like Xbox that's doing it, such as like Jason Schreier coming out being very vocal that he's loving his time with Avowed. Look, I get it, but I think you guys got to calm down with this one. In my personal opinion, Avowed may have been hit slightly with that Xbox tax. I haven't seen it, but I'm not going to say it's not there. But I think for the most part, where the reviews come from and where some of the people in the industry are talking, Avowed got hit more because the fans of the previous games, the predecessors of this studio, had higher expectations. Were they fair? I feel it's fair and valid, but that's up for you guys to determine. But anyway, put in the comment section below what you guys feel. I'm very curious your guys' opinion on this. Definitely hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this, but you can always share the video out. You know, we definitely like our people to get updated as much as possible. You can follow me on Twitter at LordAddictILP. Appreciate everyone for coming through. And until next time, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace. Man, Xbox tax and Avowed. I wasn't going to make this video. I'm being honest. I really wasn't, but I had to.